What's up guys, Mobius N7 here for the first time on camera in what seems like forever. Normally I have an instrument in my hands, but today, in a first for my channel, we're going to be doing an installation video. So for today I'm going to replace this B32 Givi top case with a V40 mono key. And we're going to have it set so my one key will open up both my panniers and that top case. So that being said, this is Mystletainn, my motorcycle, my Bonneville T100. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get Mystletainn up on her center stand. This is kind of how I dropped it last year when I had to replace the turn signals. So let's get this. So yeah, normally it's easier without the panniers, but I forgot to take them off. And we're going to do that right now anyways. Alright, moving on. These are brand new. I think maybe in the last video or the video before that, I had my installation video of it. And since then, these panniers are just really nice. They're roomy. They don't add too much width to the bike. Just a little bit. I came from the Givi Metro 4T line, or Metro T side cases before this, but I like these a lot better. So let's get these cases off. So I already started putting decals on this thing. So on one side, I have, let's see, 5th generation Hololive member, Shishiro Botan. And on the other side, we have 1st generation Hololive member, Shirakami Fubuki. And lastly, we're going to take off the B32 NMAL top case. This is a monolock system, monolock top case, 32 liters, can hold a full face helmet with room to spare. Oh. I forgot I kept something in here. The cargo net. Alright, so this one's going away, and I'm actually going to put this one up for sale on eBay, just like I have a couple of OEM parts for sale there as well, and some miscellaneous video game stuff. And here we have the Givi E251 universal mono key plate, and that's going to be replacing this universal monolock plate for the new V40 that I'm going to pop on. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger than the mono lock plate. It's actually substantially, there's more heft to it because this is supposed to be their top of the line, long haul luggage system. And it can carry more. And it comes with everything necessary. Got installation instructions, parts list, stuff like that. Shouldn't be too difficult. All black hardware, as you can see. Now let's take a look at the case that's going to be replacing the B32. Kind of fresh out of the box. I already opened it and took out the plastic. Took it out of the plastic. This is my new Givi V40 top case mono key system. Oops, totally just hit the tripod there. All right, now this is the tech version of the V40. Bigger, sturdier, definitely feels like it's more secure than the B32. And for comparison, this is the B32. Yeah. Because Givi allows you to change locks on the mono key system, I'm going to be replacing the key that this V40 came with an identical lock to my Alaska panniers. And that came in with the Alaska panniers wrapped up like this. This is the original key. So let's take a look inside. Now I heard some of the older mono key top cases had some kind of document holder here. That would have been nice to have, but you know, no skin off my back. Inside we have documentation, we have the spare key down here, and this is actually this is really nice. I've already kind of tried to fit my helmet in here, both my 3/4 helmet and my modular helmet, and it fits really nicely. I have my my 3/4 helmet here, my special edition HJC Podamron. Nice, nice. And it can fit in here pretty comfortably. Yeah, I don't want to it might fall, so yeah. And there's a lot of room in there to spare. And since this is my daily rider, I take it everywhere now. They'll be getting a lot of use, especially when I go grocery shopping and stuff like that. I still have yet to find anything that will let me strap my bass clarinet to this bike one day. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is take out these two little screws here that hold this plate in place. And that's just to prevent access to the bolts underneath. Pop that off. There. Alright. So we just gotta do that 3 more times. And there we go. There we go. So this is actually the first time I've seen the Triumph luggage rack in almost a year now. And I forgot how nice it looks. Now when I first mounted this, I kind of had a difficult time, you know, finding a good spot for these little brackets here. But I was able to figure it out eventually, and I probably should have made note of where they were going because those were really secure. All right, so we have our monolock base plate there, and we have our mono key base plate here. Yeah, it's fine. So one thing I've actually never seen anyone do on YouTube is compare what these two look like, just the base plates themselves. So here's just a little, you know, visual difference between the two. So monolock is Givi's more lightweight luggage, like I said earlier, and mono key is more heavy duty, long distance touring. As you can see, there's a pretty big difference between the base plates. Mono key has 1, 2, 3 points of connection, as you can see. Monolock has, they say 2 points of connection, but I'm counting this as 3 because you have this first lock here and then these 2 slots. And when this was on the bike, it was really secure, but I could get the top box to kind of wobble a little bit. So I'm hoping this, the mono key plate changes that. And from the inside, they both look almost the same. I think the mounting hardware is pretty much the same as well. So you got this honeycomb pattern. Honeycomb pattern, pretty much the same thing. Hardware included in the box, we got plate, the cover plate. We have our 5mm Allen bolts. We have our, by the way, these are M6x30. We have these little screws here to attach the cover plate to the base plate. We have our 10mm lock nuts, and they call these things right here little plates, and the mounting brackets. So now we're going to mount the base plate to the luggage rack. Now I know Givi makes their own luggage rack, but I really like the way this looks. Only problem is the grab rail gets into the way. So this is going to stick out a little bit, just like it did for the other one. Now the hard part of this is trying to decide where to mount the brackets. When I did the mono key plate, or mono lock plate, I really had to mess around and play with it until I found something that I wanted to, something that would work. So we're gonna be playing around with where I want these plates to be. Ideally, I want to use all 4 of these little brackets. The instructions recommend at least 3. So we're gonna play a little game of how the hell am I gonna mount this? So you just slot these little plates into the honeycomb. I want to keep them, you know, kind of equally distant from each other, but that wasn't possible on the old one. I don't think it'll be possible here. But I was very pleasantly surprised with how sturdy and stable the other one was. All right, first one down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep these just finger tight so I can still slide the plate around as I, you know, keep it, find a good position for the case itself. I just gotta find 3 more mounting points. So 1 in the center, I might be able to do 2 in the center. I want to have one off the side as well, but I don't think I can. Oh, well, might be able to do one here. So far, so good. Let's see. Might be able to get one on the other side as well. Good amount of trial and error just to install this. I think I probably need to have it out all the way this far just to make sure there's clearance for the case. Might even have to move this one back one. We'll see. I'll decide on a spot for the 4th after I mount this case for the first time. Right. So here we go. We're going to mount this case for the first time. All right, now I'm just gonna find a spot to where, you know, it's not it's as centered as I can make it, but not, you know, all up on the grab rail. Because if it's not centered, it's gonna drive me crazy. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this one back a row because I needed more space coming out this way. That way they're all in line, and I want to be able to find a spot for the 4th. After playing around with it for a little bit, I found a spot for the last one to go. It's not exactly in where I wanted it to go. It's right here. I wanted to keep it in line with the center, just, you know, to be more stable, but that wasn't really going to happen. First tried here, things weren't lining up. Here, things are lining up pretty well. And this is still going to be pretty stable once everything's tightened down. All right, so let's put the case on one more time before we actually tighten this down. Oh man, these things require a little bit more force than the monolocks. And I think I'm just going to let it rest on the passenger grab rail just to get it as close as I can to the bike. All right, you know, I think I'm satisfied with where this is. So take this off one more time. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down those lock nuts. One last time. It's a lot of checking, double checking. Gotta get used to that. Yep, everything looks good. Very nice. Very sturdy. All right, so that should be done. So yeah, very stable, sturdy, even if it does poke out a little bit from the back, but I'm not worried about it. So the last thing we do is put the plastic plate on, and that is secured in place by these 4 screws here. All right, there we go. Next thing is to change the lock on the V40. Now, something I haven't seen, maybe because I haven't been looking for it, but I haven't seen anyone change a lock on a Givi top case. So this is going to be kind of an experiment. I tried to use the new lock on the B32N, but the lock cylinder was just way too long. It wasn't going to work. So I know that they do have these 4 screws here, and that actually holds this plate in place, and that's what I have to remove. So first things first, let's get rid of the spare. And just so I have them, and I know where it is, this is the matching lock for the Alaskas. So let's get to work on getting these 4 screws taken out. Nope. Oh wow, that pops out a lot easier than the B32. Probably because the B32 wasn't meant to be tampered with. Alright, so what happened was this right here kind of popped off. Let's see if I can rotate this. Ooh. There we go. So this right here popped off once I released the 4th screw. You just slide it out like that. And there you have your locking mechanism. Kind of a really simple lock. But yes, the B32 did have the same kind of mechanism, just a little different actually. We have a nut we have to loosen up here, and all we're doing is swapping out the cylinders. Should be pretty simple. Alright, so this is the new lock, and I guess this part right here, the part that's separated, I think that's a breakaway, so if someone tries to pick the lock, it'll snap. So the spare lock came with everything you need, and I guess I'll just use those. Okay, so after a little bit of trial and error, I was able to finally get this screwed in and tightened. It seems to be working just fine, even with, especially with the new key. Well, not the new key, but yeah. So I can finally get rid of this one. All right, so the next thing would be to put this locking mechanism back into the case. All right, let's double check, make sure it works. Okay, those can't be depressed. All right, we got movement. We don't have movement. I think I know where I went wrong. Okay, we'll come back to this once I get this all fixed up. So I finally figured out what the issue was. It was just a simple alignment issue with the release button down here. Just have to make sure everything lines up fine. But otherwise, I think, yep, everything's good. Yep, we're good. Lock. Lock it. Yeah, this is very stable. Sure, it sticks out a little bit from the back, but I think this will do nicely as a replacement. Until I decide I want one of the Dolomiti or the Outback case. So I don't know if this little plate can take it. The tech means you don't get red reflectors, you get these smoked reflectors. And I think that really does look nice, especially with the color scheme I'm going for with this bike. I know this says Tresemme, but it's not. It's dry wash. We're just reusing the bottle. We have Mystletainn, my 2019 Triumph Bonneville T100 Black, completely kitted out with a nice set of luggage. So we have our Givi Alaska 32-liter panniers, mono key system. And then we also have our Givi V40 top case, also mono key system. So now I have one key that will unlock all three cases. I think it looks really nice. And one other thing I want to point out is down here at the sprocket cover. This sprocket cover right here is, the stock Bonneville T100 sprocket cover, but this heel guard came from a Street Twin sprocket cover. What I had to do was I had to drill holes in this sprocket cover, which is only made out of aluminum, so it was a little easy, in the same spots where these screws would go. And on the other side, there's just some lock nuts and Loctite. I think this looks a lot nicer than plain old sprocket cover. And it looks definitely better than if I had just swapped the whole thing out for the Street Twin, because the Street Twin sprocket cover it's just plastic. And if you made it all the way through to the end, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe for more music and motorcycles. This has been Mobius N7. I will catch y'all later.